Hey guys, thank you so much for watching Where with Sim again. Hope you guys are all having a great day so far. And in today's video, we're going to be going over the storm system that's going to be impacting the entire southern United States and as well as the west and east coasts. So if you are really not prepared for the storm, make sure to prepare for it, especially if you live in California mountains or even the coast of California, because we'll be seeing rounds of heavy rainfall and as well as storms too as well. So all those things will be the main concern, and I do want to show you guys that we have a general thunderstorm risk for every day. And if you guys are asking will we see severe weather with these storms, that is a no. We shouldn't see severe weather with these storms, but as you can probably see, it is in effect for Amarillo, Lubbock, Midland, even Albuquerque, even Santa Fe, even Las Cruz, New Mexico. So all those areas are included in this general risk for at least today. So definitely be aware of that if you do live in this area. But even down here, I forgot to say that we do also have a general risk towards Miami. But as we look at day 2, which is tomorrow, pretty much in effect for the same areas. Doesn't head into southwest Colorado or southeast Utah, but it does still include New Mexico and as well as Texas, and it even heads more east in the Texas as well. We even got this general risk heading from Miami, Florida, all the way into pretty much Corpus Christi and Brownsville, Texas. So if you live in those areas, just watch for some thunderstorms. I mean, they are pretty small areas, and they do include the southern part of both states. So if you do live in there, just be aware of a few special marine warnings, things like that, that are off the coast. So if you do live in there, like I said, make sure to be aware about that. But even up here in the Amarillo, Lubbock, and Midland, make sure to be aware of some possible thunderstorms as we get into tomorrow. But day 3, we do have a general risk for thunderstorms still, but this time it just includes Texas, and it even includes some more populated cities in Texas as well, so be aware of that. We're going to go ahead and show you guys the excessive rainfall outlook. So for today, we do have a slight risk for flash flooding across Miami, even Fort Lauderdale, so all those areas included in the site risk for flash flooding, and it even has as far down south as Homestead. So all those areas still included in this. Even includes Miami Beach, Hollywood, even a few other areas too as well. So definitely be aware of this, but even that marginal risk around that will have to be aware too as well. So if we do look at day 2, the chance for flash flooding does get a little bit more widespread and heads up into West Palm Beach, but even all the way down and still including Fort Lauderdale, but even heading into Hollywood, and then even down into Miami and Miami Beach, and then still includes Homestead. So if you guys do live in those areas, make sure to be aware both today and tomorrow. So that does include both day 1 and day 2, but as we get into day 4, that's where we really start to see that flash flood threat pick up across almost the entire state of Florida. Just doesn't include the Panhandle, but even on day 5, that does shift off northeast, and it does include quite a bit of these areas. We can't roll out an isolated slight risk in this area, but we're still gonna have to watch closely. But I'm gonna probably say day 4 is what it's going to be the main concern due to how big this threat is. But we don't even have a threat for flash flooding in the west coast, even though I really thought about it. But we actually do have that on the west coast as we get into day 5. So day 1, day 2, and day 3, and day 4, no flash flood threat on the west coast. But day 5, you guys finally get a threat for flash flooding. But I did forget to say that Texas does have a few days that could see some flash flooding, so definitely be aware about that as well. We're going to go ahead and show you guys the Climate Prediction Center outlook, where on day 6 to 10 we are seeing a pretty good chance for above average temperatures across the northern plains and much of the United States, but even down here in Florida, pretty good chance for below average temperatures, so definitely be aware of that. In Miami Beach, this cold front that is coming through, I'm pretty sure that's going to bring some thunderstorms to Florida, because that's usually what most cold fronts do. It also depends on how strong they are, but definitely be aware of some possible thunderstorms as we get into the 6 to 10 day outlook, which will be from Monday, December 18th, and then to December 22. So starting December 18th and ending at December 22. Okay, so definitely be aware of some like pretty nasty weather down here. No like freezing expected, but like 50s and 60s down there could be possible. But if we look at the 8 to 14 day outlook, a pretty big area included in above average, very widespread to be honest, and almost heads into like southwest Indiana, but even includes like Indiana, Michigan, even the Great Lakes region, upper Midwest, but even around that pretty big dang area included an above average. So pretty much the entire United States included an above average. So that's definitely going to be a concern right there. So wow, definitely something to be aware about. But if we look at the 6 to 10 day outlook, so like I said, this starts at December 18th and ends at December 22. We do have a high chance for well below average for precipitation across southern Indiana through Kentucky, Tennessee, and into both Alabama and Mississippi. But even up here, we do have a pretty good chance for below average precipitation across eastern Minnesota, western North Dakota, and even northwest South Dakota. So all those areas definitely included in a chance for well below average precipitation. But even over here on the west coast, definitely some very good chance for above average precipitation. And then on the east coast, also like a slightly chance for above average precipitation. But if we look at the 8 to 14 day outlook, same thing for California, where we are seeing a pretty good chance for above, but the west or the east coast does kind of get a break from seeing above, and now they're seeing below average. So definitely be aware about that. Ohio's still included in a chance for below average, but even like back here out west into like Texas, New Mexico, Colorado, even Wyoming, and just throughout the west coast and the Rocky Mountains region, all those areas definitely seeing anywhere from slightly above to somehow much above on the west coast. So definitely be aware of that. But if we look at the hazards, we do have winter weather advisories and winter storm watches in effect for places like the Panhandle of Texas and Oklahoma, getting into northeast New Mexico, southern Colorado, and then pretty much eastern Kansas, or I mean western Kansas, getting into a pretty good portion of Colorado. But even up here, we do have a winter weather advisory in effect, but even in California, some freeze warnings, even a wind advisory in effect for the Salt Lake City area, pretty much just north of it, and then even in Oregon and Washington, some dense fog advisories in effect. So definitely be aware of those. But if we do look at the radar, as you guys can probably see, as we do take this forward, I forgot to put this on forecast loop. We're gonna go ahead and take this forward, and as you guys can probably see, we start off with a pretty good storm system across New Mexico and the Panhandle of Texas. That's pretty much where those winter storm warnings are in effect. So that's what we're going to have to watch closely for, some pretty active snowfall. Then as that finally heads through the Dallas-Fort Worth area and into Louisiana, that will finally head out. And then what happens is all these storms and rain does head through Florida, bringing very heavy rain to a lot of it, and then it heads up the east coast and pretty much into Maine. So very big storm system there, heading pretty much across Texas, into Louisiana, down into the Gulf of Mexico, through Florida, and pretty much straight up the east coast. So all those areas will have to be aware of this. But if we continue to take this forward, we don't see anything active quite yet. And I mean, we got the storm system coming off the coast of California, bringing definitely some very heavy snowfall to the Rockies. And as we continue to take that forward, that will eventually die down, but then we start to see a storm coming off the panhandle of Texas that will bring some rain and maybe even some brief thunderstorms across the Ohio Valley. So not really your typical jet during El Nino, but sometimes we do have jets like that during El Nino where it does kind of head like northwest or northeast. So definitely be aware of some possible storms as we get later on, but if we continue to take that forward, we kind of just have a lot of uncertainty. But if we do go ahead and look at the precipitation, I only went to the 171 hour because I didn't want to go super far out, but as you can probably see, ton of rain for the East Coast, pretty good amount for Texas, and then even California seen some pretty good amount. I think places like Florida, California, and Texas will have the potential for some flash flooding, but even up here, about an inch of rain could be possible, and that's definitely going to be something to watch closely. But excuse me, guys, but even down here, like in Illinois, Indiana, seeing only like 3/10 of an inch, maybe just a tenth of an inch. It really depends, but definitely be aware of that if you do live in these areas. But same goes for the East Coast. Definitely going to want to be on high alert for some pretty good rainfall as we get into the 171 hour. And if you're asking how far does that go out, that goes out all the way to December 20th. Okay, so you guys can just take a minute to look at it. But if we go ahead and look at the total snowfall, we actually do have a lot coming for California. And to be honest with you guys, this is like hard hitting snowfall, guys. California is going to get hard with a ton of snowfall, bringing pretty much 3 feet of snow, which is about 36 inches of snowfall right there, guys. That is a lot of snowfall. Up to 3 inches of snowfall is a lot. But even back here into places like central Virginia, getting into portions of northern North Carolina, definitely seeing some pretty good snowfall there. Some areas might be getting up to 3 or 6 inches, look like, but that's going to be more isolated though. But even up here in the upper Midwest, a chance for some pretty good snowfall, and then portions of the Rockies could even get over a foot, and that will be for like the Cascade Mountains getting into Oregon. So definitely be aware of some pretty good snowfall, and even back here into New Mexico, seeing some very good snowfall, about 2 feet of snow in effect for like New Mexico, but that won't be till we head to December 20th. So that's about how far this heads out. So we'll have to watch closely. I'm not really sure when they're gonna get this much snowfall, but they'll definitely be seeing up to that much as we get into December 20th. So be aware of that. But if we go ahead and look at the impacts that we could see with the storm, we are actually seeing some major impacts with the storm, guys. Some major impacts, and that's definitely going to be a concern. And if you guys are asking, are there any other major impacts? Well, we actually do have a few minor impacts in New England. Same goes for a little bit of California, just more isolated than widespread, but even some moderate impacts going pretty much for northeast Texas, or I mean northwest Texas, very northwest Texas. So definitely be aware of that, and then even a few other minor areas like Amarillo probably going to see a little bit of impact. So definitely be aware of that. But if we go ahead and look at our temperatures, we're going to go ahead and take this forward, and as you guys can probably see, we are seeing some pretty good cold fronts moving through these areas, but then we start to see more warm-ups come through, so both cold and warmth coming through places like the eastern United States. This will bring some 50s and as well as some 60s, but if we continue to take this forward, we will definitely keep on seeing 50s and as well as near freezing temperatures for a pretty good portion of the eastern United States. And as you can probably see, that cold front does kind of head out and kind of bring some like more in the way of warmth than cold, but still something to be aware about. But then we start to see more cold move through, and as you guys can probably see, this definitely moves through a lot as we get into like almost the end of the track. So definitely be aware of some freezing temperatures occasionally in the eastern United States, and as well as some some warmth too as well. Not like super warm, but like more like cool mixed with warm. So that's gonna be highs in the 50s and as well as some in the 60s. So definitely be aware of that if you do live in these areas. But thank you guys very much for watching. Hope you guys did have a great day. And before we end this video, I don't know if I said this or not, but right below my video, I did place an image saying to like and subscribe. So if you guys haven't done that yet, make sure to do that. Also, you guys can please keep subscribing and liking the channel. That will definitely help me a lot. So if you haven't done that already, make sure to do that, and I will definitely appreciate it.